Morning, everybody. I'm going to do the same thing and make sure that I'm on the line. Firstly, thanks Teresa, Phil, and particularly Melanie and Sally for having me along today. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm really passionate about employee engagement. Coming from an auditing compliance background, I do like facts and figures and feedback and tangible things, and definitely the Touchstone Pulse app allows us to do that. Just firstly, and I was motivated to think a little bit about leadership, and Phil, you're right, it is depending on who you talk to, is what feedback you get. But I'm a proud father of two. I've got a 6-year-old Sarah and a 9-year-old Sebastian. And for me personally, I heard this quite some years ago, but taking the hard right over the easy wrong is something that I try and practice with my children and within my workplace as well. So that may be something you might like to think about. Sometimes it's easier to take another path, but definitely taking the hard right over the easy wrong is what leadership means to me in my life. You've probably heard that before. You can't manage what you can't measure. It's pretty accurate. Thinking about this over the last couple of days, and I think it rings true with when we speak about engagement. Peter Drucker actually first came up with that. He's a management thinker. I don't know whether you're familiar with Peter, but some of his work is good. I've read a bit of his information, and I think what he was getting at there is to be successful, you need to be able to manage, but you also need to be able to measure. So you need to be able to track success and define success. So we're on a journey at Cowell Electric. I've been with Cowell Electric for 8 months. Thoroughly enjoyed my time there. We're a dynamic group of people and an agile group of people. So I'd like to take on a journey this morning, and the first 3 points there is what we thought about when we collectively had a discussion about what success looks like to us. And we asked ourselves the following questions. Connection. Connecting the individual to the collective. And we asked ourselves, how well do we connect our business goals to the interests and passions of our employees? And do the programs create a sense of belonging or community? Consistency. How consistent is our engagement programs, and how do they fit within the larger strategic plans of the business? And how do they align with our operations, our policies and our procedures? And of course, continuous improvement. These are in no particular order, by the way. So when we talk about continuous improvement, is our change effort seen as a tick box exercise or a long-term opportunity to continually improve and engage our workforce and our staff? We operate in rural South Australia, and they present some unique challenges. We've spoken about the mining industry. In my experience with the mining industry, we're actually quite a safe industry. There are some consequences that are quite that are not good, but as far as compliance, assessing risk, I think we do that really well. But where the rubber hits the road is how engaged our workforce are to actually using those tools and utilising those tools. So some of the challenges that we face within our business is where we're growing, where our strategic plans involves continuous growth over time. It's vital that our employees come along for the journey. That's something that we want to encourage. With the growing organisation also comes along with the growing workforce. What we've found is new employees, both new to operations, new to working in different environments, and also younger employees. We're getting a lot of, at our HSEQ meetings monthly, we have an introduction of new employees. And I think the average is about 5 new employees a month, and that's just at our Olympic Dam branch in mining services. So And when I look around the room, there's a lot of young faces. So we need to be able to bring them up in a culture that's engaged and a safe culture. And dynamic projects have a start date and an end date. And they present a unique set of challenges. We have people moving all around South Australia at any one point in time, including outside of South Australia. Introducing new employees to new projects and new environments is a challenge. And also to new clients. I mean, not every client operates the same. So there's definitely challenges there. So our Managing Director, Sue Chase, been on the board since 2013. She introduced me to a concept at that stage called Touchstone Pulse. Networked with Jody over a period of time, and we adopted the principle. When I first looked at Touchstone Pulse, it ticked a lot of boxes for me, and it was a light bulb moment. I guess being the last cab off the rank, there's been some heavy hitters today, and a lot of this has been gone through, so I might just skip through that slide. I think that was covered well from the previous speaker. I will go through this though, because for us this is important. When we introduce a new program, a new concept to the work group, these things were important to us. And first one is confidentiality. It's really important that if you, with any sort of survey, confidentiality is maintained for the sake of the employee, and I think it creates some honesty. They can review inside the app, they can review responses. They get sent an email reminder through their smartphone app, which alerts them to when a pulse is actually generated. There's a link which I really like, a personal assistance link, so if they're at risk or they need to access some further assistance, those links are there. Save and finish later functions, I had to use that myself. Started a pulse, come back to it later, finished it off, and the confidential feedback. I'd just like to concentrate a little bit on and highlight the confidential feedback. That for me is a really important feature because it allows employees to provide some feedback anonymously. We use that like a virtual suggestion box. There was thought within the organisation that we need to reinvent or reinvigorate, I guess is a better word, of the confidential feedback old suggestion box. That was then a great opportunity for me for buying, because we've had some really tangible feedback come back to us through the app. I think we're up to about 25 from our first range of pulses, which is good. What we intend to do with that information is actually just give it back to the workforce. So I heard continually that feedback's provided and there's not a lot comes back, and it's true. I hear across a lot of industry, a lot of employees doing the same thing. We're really proactive about providing that feedback back to the employee. So we do that at a board level. We intend to do it at a management meeting that we have every month, and also HSEQ meetings that go across all our branches. It will be simply a spreadsheet style feedback, but there'll also be some comments once it's gone through that board level, it's gone through the management levels, that yeah, it's a great idea, we're going to do it. No, it's a really crappy idea, we're not going to do it, and the reasons why, maybe not in that language. Or we're going to push it forward and do it later. There may be a budget restraint, there may be an operational restraint where we can't actually do that straight away. But I think it's really important that they get that feedback, because first of all, that creates some buy-in. So they're being heard. And the one thing that we struggled with initially with the first pulse, from our perspective, is there's a little bit of issues with participation. What I'd like to see happen is through the feedback, through that exchange of information, that would get some buy-in from the employee, and that will encourage others to participate in the program. Like I said, 25 good tangible suggestions is a really good result for us. So what does the report look like? After Pulse, we get this feedback from Touchstone. I've only included the summary. This is actually our summary. That's the report. A couple of pages from the report. I think it's about 15-page report, Jody, something along those lines. So it's some really good detail in there. But what it shows is we're doing some things right, but there's definitely some room for improvement there. This feedback comes from divisions within our projects department. That's normally a really dynamic area of our business, and sometimes employees feel like they're being pushed and prodded, and so that was feedback that wasn't unexpected. But what it does for us is it focuses on the areas that we need to improve on. It might be training, but definitely something there that we could do better. So where to from here? So we're one step through the journey. We've got 2 more pulses to go on the trial. Let's go back to my notes. These are the tangible benefits that we see from an organisation perspective, and it's been touched on earlier today, but employee satisfaction. Satisfied employees play a key role in our organisation, and they become ambassadors to our business. Disciples is another word. They come along the journey with us, truly important, and they support the company's mission and the strategy and the brand. Productivity. As the employee becomes more engaged, their absenteeism lowers. That's a fact, and their motivation increases. So that helps boost productivity. And I guess at the end of the day, as business leaders, what we want to see. Retention and recruitment. Employees who are engaged significantly lower the risk of turnover for the company. As engaged employees are more invested in the success of the business, they become more loyal. Innovation. Engaged employees perform at a higher level and bring passion and interest to their job, ultimately creating job security. And profitability is the last on the list there. Companies are more engaged employees have a higher profitability rate, and I guess that's great. So that's a great result. But the trial itself is only as good as the information that we put into it, and that means engagement. So we'll continue down that track of engagement. It's a high profile thing for us. We'll remain a high profile activity throughout the trial. We're really impressed with the product to date. I know we had a couple of IT issues to begin with. We've gone through one app update, which has fixed a lot of those, a couple of those problems that we had early on. I also have to say that the support we've received from Melanie and Jody has been fantastic. Like I said, it's a trial product, so there's a lot of to and fro and tailoring of data, etc. So we really appreciate that support. So that's our journey, and I guess from a HSEQ perspective, I really like the tangible outcomes that this app provides. Surveys aren't a new thing, but this is a new concept, a new way to look at surveys, and I'm really impressed with the app to date. So in closing, I'd just like to thank you very much for your time. I'll be here to answer some questions as well if you have any for me, either during the session or afterwards. But I'd like to leave with one thought, and that is our people are our most valuable asset, and their well-being is a vital component to a successful modern organisation. So it's important that we keep our people safe. So thank you very much for your attention.